Okay then, James, it's good to have the chance to talk. You mentioned to me there was something that you wanted to talk to me about.
Yeah, I shared to you already after my short stay in this formation house. From the beginning, I was very happy, well motivated from the beginning. But the difficulty I find remained. What I wanted to share actually with you is the difficulty in relating with my other fellow students. Maybe with the formators I would say it's better, but when it comes to the group itself, I don't know. I feel out of place. I feel I don't belong to this group. I feel a little bit isolated. I feel a little bit maybe somebody criticizes me when the other talks to a friend or something.
Have you been feeling that way since you came here, or is it something that started recently?
At the beginning it was much better because maybe I was a little bit new, I was not used to anybody. But I hoped with time I will get fast and in touch with everybody, but the more I stay, the more I feel. I can't explain it well, but I feel a kind of being put aside by others, or maybe I'm not worthy enough to belong to this group, where everybody keeps me out, and this makes me uncomfortable. I'm not even courageous to express it to my other friends.
Yeah.
Maybe I found better expressing this to you, as we were finding out what could be done, but something which really keeps me uncomfortable.
So how long ago now is it since you actually came to the seminary?
It's now the second month, and I cannot say it is too late, but since I feel really uncomfortable, at times I feel demoralized, and I feel if I feel accepted by others, for me I find really a way forward. The more I feel out of place, and the more I feel maybe I have no reason to stay here if I don't find that acceptance which I hoped for from the beginning. Yeah.
And what were you doing before you came to the seminary?
Before I was doing, I just finished my Form 6 studies, and I was at home for some short time. I never had an opportunity to work because my education is also a bit low, and because I had this desire and I had already planned to join the congregations, and after my studies, then I joined. So I wouldn't say that I was busy with anything serious after my studies.
And so with the other students that you've been with now for the last 2 months, how many of them started at the same time as you?
How many?
How many of them began at the same time as you?
In the formation?
Yeah.
We were just the 10 of us, and we are still together, 10 of us, and the difficult time I'm expressing is just among these 10. So because I have experience only with this particular group.
So the other students in other years, you're feeling okay with? It's just the immediate peer group?
Yeah, I would say I am better with the other students in the other years, but this particular group, which I would feel maybe could be more closer to me, is the group which I find the kind of
more distant.
More distant.
Any ideas why?
At present, no. I hoped for the better in the seminary, so actually from the beginning this was my idea, because it would be a holier place, it would be a more friendly atmosphere, it would be a place where maybe there is more acceptance. In fact, I hoped for that, but to my surprise I find myself maybe worse in this place. What I hoped for, in quotes, I don't find it realized in the way I thought.
So, if you don't mind me asking, James, the impression I just got then when you were talking was that you arrived here 2 months ago with an impression or expectations of this being better than what you'd experienced in the past. So it sounds like that you've had this kind of experience previously elsewhere.
Yeah, in my own family, why I hoped for this acceptance, maybe I find maybe it was something that I found missing almost even earlier, and I don't want to remember much about that history, but anyway, it was my hope that what I missed in my past, I hope to get it at least in this kind of atmosphere. Because thinking about formation seminary, for me it was equal to getting what I found actually missing in my own history. That may be too much to remember, but this is what I hoped for.
Yeah. It sounds as if there were some things in your past that have left quite a strong impression on you.
I would say yes.
And how do you feel about talking and sharing that part of your life?
Yeah, I can do it, but I wouldn't feel. I don't find it important now, but I would rather feel better to think about what I'm hoping for than to share about what happened, because anyway, for me it's not something very pleasant, but yeah, I would feel to share about what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I can see that. I think one of the weaknesses of human nature in general is when things go wrong in our life or we make mistakes, our initial reaction can often be that we want to forget about them, we want to move on from them, leave them in the past and have nothing to do with them. But in reality, very often those moments in our life that were difficult, that we want to forget, can actually be the very significant moments that we can learn a lot from, that can help us go forward. And sometimes when we've not given those moments the attention that they need and they deserve, we kind of repeat the patterns in our life. So I can recognise it's quite natural for you to have a reticence in you to share and to talk about these things that you'd rather forget. But from the point of view of formation, it could be a very positive, helpful experience to take the risk of sharing that with someone that you do have confidence with. And just to see if they can help you understand the experiences in a way that maybe helps you move forward and build the type of relationships that you're obviously wanting to build. Don't know how that strikes you, or...
Yeah, my history, I find it more disastrous in a way. I don't hope that sharing about it can be of any help in my present problems, because I would rather want to share about the good things I had. My mother, I cannot really forget about her, because she has been and she is still of a very good help to me. She has been so helpful, she has been so good to me. My father, I would rather not wish to even to remember or to share about what I experienced with him, because for me, he has been a father in his own way, because he has never thought that I was a son to him. He has never recognized that he had a family to take care of. He has never been of any good, not only to me, but to the family at large. And the much I suffered for him, the much the whole family experienced, for me I take it as enough. It's not even worth to be remembered. And in this aspect, that's why I hope that living this kind of history, living this family, I wish to find myself in a place that can accept me, a place that can offer me what I missed. And missing that in the present now, I feel out of place. I don't see the difference again between what I didn't want to, in fact, remember and what I'm experiencing now.
So the pattern is repeating itself.
Repeating the past.
Yeah. And that's not unusual in life. But I think that's where it can be important, as I say, to go back and revisit those difficult feelings and experiences, just to see if there's anything in them that can help you see an alternative way forward. I mean, it sounds like a lot of your experience of not being recognised and a sense of being rejected comes from your relationship with your father. Was it just your father in your family that you experienced that with, or were there other members of the family that played a part in those feelings for you?
I would say the father, but I think maybe my father is could be the first person maybe who has brought this experience to me. And I can remember some other persons, but for me my father remains somebody who really didn't offer me what I deserve, because I'm a son to him, and I hope this is a natural reality which he had to accept, even if there could be other factors, I would say. But I would say if my father accepted me, that was enough for me.
How old were you when you first had this feeling that your father didn't accept you?
Exactly, I cannot remember when, but I remember this is an experience that I grew up with since when I was aware that I lived in this world. My father was always missing. My father didn't accept me, and this was is something that I just remember. I experienced it from many other persons in the family, but for me it was enough that I became a son to my father.
So it's something that's been there from an early age that you've wanted, but you've never been able to create or to achieve.
I would say, and I long for this.
And is your father still alive?
My father died some 5 years back, and in fact for me he died long back. I don't count his natural death as for me, from the time I heard that my father was missing, for me my father was dead. I wouldn't say I missed him 5 years back, I missed him many years back.
But I suppose from 5 years back, what you lost was the potential for him to recognise you as a son.
Yeah, I would say, really, for me, I would say in my life, I wish to be a son to my father, and I think I still long for this. I don't know whether I can realize it in my life, in the present, but it's my desire that keeps on ringing in my. I was never a son. To whom can I be the son apart from my father? And this is something that repeats itself in my life.
And how does all this experience in your family and the absence of your father, how has that affected the way you've arrived here and chosen to explore whether or not God's calling you to be a missionary?
I wouldn't explain that in a way very clear, but I was always in the search. I really find a place where I can be recognized as a son, as someone. And I don't know how it worked out, but at last I found, maybe in a seminary or in a congregation, that I find a place of acceptance. How it happened, I don't explain, but anyway, this is my hope. And finding myself here from the beginning, I thought I have found a home. I thought I have found a place where I will be accepted. I thought I will fulfill, or I will get what has been missing for me from the beginning of my life. At last I find this is not true, because what I expected is not what I live, is not what I found in this place. And it becomes a challenge for me, whether I'm in the wrong place, whether I should leave, then go back home. I find it equally the same. I stay here, I don't feel I belong. I go back home, what I missed, I find it really still means, because my father is already dead. He never accepted me, he never come back to life. That's why for me leaving the home was a kind of a solution, to forget about my father, my home, and have a new home, have a new place. This was my hope. How far it can be realized in this situation where I find myself again, this becomes more challenging, and I really find myself losing the sense of the meaning of life. It's a war that goes on, within me. The more I stay, the more I find myself out of place, and it's something that worries me.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I realise it was something you didn't really want to share, but I think it's been helpful for me to know a bit more about your background. And I just wonder, coming back to the situation here now in the seminary that you've been experiencing with your peers, you've used a lot of language when you began to talk about them, which parallels the language that you've used when you talked about your father, in terms of feeling that you're not accepted, feeling rejected by your peers. I just wonder if you could maybe describe to me what's been happening in the last couple of months in terms of your relationship with your peers. What are the things that have happened that have made you feel rejected or not accepted?
Actually, when I speak about the things that made me feel not accepted, I wouldn't call them big things, but I did find when we are in the class, when I try to answer some questions from the formator or from other teachers, I just see as if others, they just laugh about what I say, as if I'm not intelligent enough, as if I never spoke English before, because it was not part of my initial languages I spoke. Maybe I find myself not intelligent enough to cope up with the others. When we go for the prayers, I struggle with the prayers which I didn't learn before, and when I make mistakes, I really feel others are laughing about my mistakes. In groups, whenever I try to mingle with the others, I find it a little bit isolated, and then so I ask myself, why? Why only me? I find I don't have any close friend who can really share my sufferings, and then so I find it is well with anybody else, but with me no. So kind of feeling of like fish outside water, and I become uncomfortable, and then so I don't know how long I can bear this. Will it change? So this, for me, they look very simple things, but again, I don't sleep well because I find myself, I'm alone. We share my life of not being accepted. For me, I will suffer in this group, so maybe I don't find myself at home.
You mentioned that you think or feel that they're laughing at you and rejecting you, or because you're aware of your differences, the struggle with the language, new prayers, have they actually explicitly said anything to you to make you, are there things that you can point to that people did that support those feelings that you have, or are they just suspicions that you have of your peers?
In fact, if I remember well, nobody has really maybe expressed it to me directly. It's all about my way of thinking. This is what the way I perceive,
Sure.
others.
Sure.
So this is what I see. But nobody has really come to me or has criticized me about my. But
But you feel that.
when I
feel that.
know there's something I can sense.
Just a question that comes to my mind would be, in the last couple of months, because the others were new when they came here as well, have you ever reached out to them or asked them to do things and they then rejected you or didn't want to follow up on what you were suggesting?
For me, I feel something which I'm not able to do. I feel, who am I? How can I really approach them and tell them? Because I really feel I'm unable. I just feel no others are better. And then even that courage to reach out and tell them what I feel, what I sense from them. In fact, I never thought about this. Only when maybe if I can look into it, into the possibility, but it's something that I never did, and I never thought even about the possibility of doing that. So,
I mean, I just wonder if it might be good. You said there are 9 others in your group. I just wonder, as you think about the 9 others in the group, is there any one of them that you would maybe feel able to go and try and talk to a little bit? Maybe you feel he's a bit more easier to talk to than the others.
yeah, I can try to reach some, because I don't think all of them, though I feel that the kind of, from my part, the difficulty of reaching them, but talking to one some at the moment, I'll give it a try and express it. I don't know how it will be received, but
that's fine, because it's a suspicion on my part, just listening to you, but I know from sometimes in my own experience in life, there have been times when I have felt that people weren't interested in me or didn't seem to show much support or interest. And I remember one time when I talked to someone about it, they pointed out to me, because I didn't expect people to be interested in me, I never made the efforts to build the relationships, and so people just left me thinking this is what I wanted. And I just wonder if maybe something like that might be happening for yourself because of some of your history and that which people aren't aware of, that your way of surviving those experiences is to avoid the risk of being rejected. And so people don't get to meet you and to see you, and they kind of respect the signals you're giving off, which may not be the signals you want to give off. So maybe if I just recommend that you try to talk with one person, just share some of the struggles that you've been having here the last few months, and just to see what that might open up. And then maybe in a few days, a week or so, we could talk a bit more and just see how this is developing. And maybe I could come up with a few other suggestions then of things that might be helpful, because it's a big complicated situation that you're dealing with and come to terms with because of the relationship, of the absence of a relationship with your father. Okay?
I'll give it a try and then I will see what will come out of it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank